The morning sunlight streamed through the high windows of Lincoln Heights High School, casting long rectangles of light across the freshly waxed hallway floor. September in Chicago brought a peculiar kind of weather, warm enough for short sleeves but with an undercurrent of coolness that hinted at the approaching fall. Olivia Chen hurried through the main entrance, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, clutching her backpack straps as she navigated the crowded corridor. As a junior, Olivia had finally found her rhythm at Lincoln Heights. She wasn't part of the popular crowd that gathered by the trophy cases each morning, nor was she among the academic elites who clustered near the science labs. Instead, Olivia occupied that comfortable middle ground, known enough to receive casual greetings in the hallway, but not so visible as to be the subject of school gossip. "Hey, Liv," called Madison Barnes, waving from her locker. Madison had been Olivia's friend since 7th grade, when they'd bonded over a shared hatred of their math teacher's policy of calling students to the board without warning. "Morning," Olivia replied, stopping beside Madison's locker. "Ready for Cooper's history test?" Madison groaned dramatically. "Don't remind me. I was up until midnight trying to memorize all those Supreme Court cases." She slammed her locker shut, the metal clang echoing in the hallway. "Hey, did you hear about the new girl? Started yesterday. I think she's in our English class." Olivia shook her head. "I was at that dentist appointment, remember? What's she like?" "Quiet. Keeps to herself. I think her name is Rachel or Rebecca or something with an R." The first warning bell rang, sending students scurrying toward their classrooms. Olivia and Madison joined the flow of bodies moving down the main hallway, dodging the freshmen who still hadn't learned the unspoken rules of hallway navigation. As they approached the junction, where the main hallway split toward the English and math wings, Olivia noticed a small commotion ahead. A circle of students had formed, the kind that typically signaled either a fight or some form of public humiliation. The crowd was mostly made up of seniors, including several football players and cheerleaders. "What's going on?" Madison whispered, rising on her tiptoes to see over the shoulders of taller students. Olivia gently pushed her way closer, murmuring, "Excuse me," as she slipped between bodies. When she reached the inner edge of the circle, she saw a girl she didn't recognize standing with her back against the lockers. The girl, who must have been the new student Madison mentioned, had light brown hair that fell in waves past her shoulders. She was clutching a worn backpack to her chest like a shield, her knuckles white with tension. Across from her stood Amber Wilson, senior class president and captain of the cheerleading squad. Amber was holding up a faded gray sweatshirt that clearly belonged to the new girl. "Seriously, where did you even find this? A dumpster?" Amber was saying, her voice pitched to Carrie. "I didn't know Goodwill had a damaged goods section." The new girl's face flushed a deep red, but she remained silent, her eyes fixed on the floor. "I mean, I get that not everyone can afford designer stuff," Amber continued, examining the sweatshirt with exaggerated disgust, "but there's a difference between budget shopping and wearing actual trash." A few of the surrounding students laughed, while others looked uncomfortable but made no move to intervene. "Look at these holes," Amber continued, poking her manicured finger through a worn spot near the sleeve. "And what is this stain? Did you roll around in mud before coming to school?" Something shifted in Olivia's chest, a tightening sensation that spread upward into her throat. She thought about her own mother, who worked double shifts as a nurse to provide for their family after Olivia's father had left 5 years ago. She thought about the careful budgeting, the strategic shopping at sales and outlet stores, the quiet pride her mother took in stretching every dollar. Before she could second-guess herself, Olivia stepped forward into the center of the circle. "Give it back," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Amber turned toward her, eyebrows raised in surprise. "Excuse me? The sweatshirt. It's not yours. Give it back to her." A hush fell over the gathered students. Confrontations with Amber Wilson were rare, her social status making her virtually untouchable in the high school hierarchy. "Do you know who I'm talking to right now?" Amber asked, her tone dangerously sweet. "Someone who should know better," Olivia replied. She extended her hand toward Amber. "The sweatshirt. Now." For a moment, no one moved. Then Amber's boyfriend, Tyler, quarterback of the football team, stepped forward. "Come on, Amber. We're gonna be late." He gave Olivia a look that might have been respect or annoyance. It was hard to tell. Amber glanced between Tyler and Olivia, then tossed the sweatshirt onto the floor at the new girl's feet. Whatever. It's not like I wanted to touch that thing anyway. She turned and walked away, the crowd parting automatically to let her through. As the circle of onlookers dispersed, Olivia bent down and picked up the sweatshirt, handing it to the new girl. "Here," she said softly. "I'm Olivia." The girl took the sweatshirt, clutching it tightly. "Riley?" she replied, her voice barely audible. "Riley Cooper. Thanks for, you know." "Don't mention it," Olivia said with a small smile. "What class do you have now?" "English, with Ms. Winters." "Same here. Want to walk together?" Riley nodded, gratitude visible in her eyes. As they began walking toward the English wing, Madison fell into step beside them. "That was either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've ever seen you do," Madison whispered to Olivia. Maybe it was both, Olivia thought. But as she glanced at Riley's relieved expression, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. By lunchtime, word of the hallway confrontation had spread throughout Lincoln Heights High. As Olivia made her way through the cafeteria with her tray of questionable meatloaf and overcooked vegetables, she noticed the curious glances and hushed conversations that followed her. "Is it my imagination, or is everyone staring?" she asked Madison, as they claimed their usual table near the windows. Madison snorted. "What did you expect? No one stands up to Amber Wilson. It's like social suicide." She paused, then added, "But also kind of awesome." "Tea." Olivia picked at her food, appetite diminished by the attention. "I wasn't trying to be awesome. I just couldn't watch it happen." "Well, awesome or not, you've definitely made an impression." Madison nodded toward the cafeteria entrance. "Speaking of which," Riley Cooper stood in the doorway, tray in hand, scanning the crowded room with visible anxiety. The worn gray sweatshirt from earlier was now tied around her waist. Olivia raised her hand and called out, "Riley, over here." Relief washed over Riley's face as she made her way toward their table. "Are you sure it's okay if I sit with you?" she asked hesitantly. "Absolutely," Olivia replied, sliding over to make room. "This is Madison, by the way." Madison offered a friendly wave. "So, new girl, what brings you to the glamorous Lincoln Heights in the middle of the semester?" Riley carefully arranged her food on her tray before answering. "My mom got a new job. We moved here from Missouri last week." She spoke softly, as if conserving her words. "It's just the two of us, so we go where the work is." "What does your mom do?" Olivia asked. "She's a home health aide. The company she works for needed people here in Chicago, so—" Riley shrugged. "Here we are." Madison leaned forward. "That must be tough, moving around a lot." "You get used to it," Riley said, though her expression suggested otherwise. "This is the third school I've been to in 2 years." Olivia was about to respond when a shadow fell across their table. She looked up to find Tyler Matthews standing there, his athletic frame towering over them. Several tables nearby fell silent, watching the interaction with undisguised interest. "Hey," he said, addressing Olivia directly. "That was cool, what you did this morning." Olivia blinked in surprise. Thanks?" Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "Look, Amber can be intense sometimes, but she's not always like that." He glanced over his shoulder toward the table where Amber sat with the other cheerleaders, all pretending not to watch. "Anyway, just wanted to say that." He walked away before Olivia could respond, rejoining his teammates at their table. One of them punched his arm playfully, saying something that made the others laugh. "Okay, that was weird," Madison said, eyebrows raised. "Since when does Tyler Matthews acknowledge the existence of non-popular people?" Riley stared down at her tray. "I'm sorry I'm causing problems for you." "You're not," Olivia assured her. "None of this is your fault. If I had better clothes, people wouldn't—" "Stop," Olivia interrupted firmly. "Amber was being cruel, period. That's on her, not you." Riley looked up, a flicker of something, determination, maybe, crossing her face. "My mom works really hard, you know. She does extra shifts whenever she can. But there are medical bills from when I was younger, and rent in Chicago is so much higher than back home." She tugged at the sleeve of her faded t-shirt. "We make do with what we have." Madison nodded. My dad lost his job last year. 6 months of unemployment taught our family a lot about making do. My mom's a single parent too, Olivia added. She works crazy hours as a nurse. I know how it is. For the first time, Riley's smile reached her eyes. Thanks for understanding. And for this morning, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Complaints about teachers, Madison's dramatic retelling of her disastrous chemistry lab experiment, Riley's observations about the differences between Chicago and her previous home in Missouri. By the time the bell rang signaling the end of lunch period, Riley seemed more relaxed, laughing at Madison's jokes and offering quiet observations of her own. As they gathered their trays, Olivia noticed Amber watching them from across the cafeteria, her expression unreadable. Something told Olivia that the morning's confrontation wasn't over, not by a long shot. Throughout the afternoon classes, Olivia caught snippets of conversations about what had happened that morning. Most of the comments seemed supportive. About time someone stood up to her. And, did you see Amber's face? Priceless. But there were also worried whispers about possible retaliation. Amber doesn't let things go, a girl in Olivia's physics class warned. She'll make you pay for embarrassing her. Olivia tried to brush off the concerns, but by the final bell, a knot of anxiety had formed in her stomach. She hurried to her locker, hoping to catch Riley before she left for the day. Instead, she found Madison waiting for her, phone in hand. Have you seen this? Madison asked, thrusting the phone toward Olivia. On the screen was a social media post from Amber. Some people should mind their own business, or they might find themselves becoming the business of everyone else. Just saying. That's obviously about you, Madison said. Olivia closed her locker with more force than necessary. Let her try whatever she's planning. I'm not sorry for what I did. But as she walked home that afternoon, beneath a sky growing heavy with rain clouds, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that she had set something in motion that was beyond her control. The next morning dawned gray and drizzly, the kind of persistent Chicago rain that seemed to seep into your bones. Olivia stepped off the bus at Lincoln Heights, umbrella in one hand and coffee in the other, bracing herself for whatever fallout might be waiting. What she wasn't prepared for was Jamie Ortiz, senior class vice president, approaching her in the parking lot. Hey Olivia, wait up, Jamie called, jogging to catch up with her. Water droplets clung to her dark curls despite the umbrella she held. I need to talk to you about something. Olivia slowed her pace, confused. She and Jamie weren't friends. They had AP literature together, but rarely spoke outside of class discussions. What's up? Olivia asked cautiously. I saw what happened yesterday with Amber and the new girl. Jamie glanced around before continuing, her voice lower. It got me thinking about some things. A bunch of us were talking last night and, well, we want to do something about it. Do something about what exactly? The way people get treated here based on what they wear or how much money their family has. Jamie's expression was earnest. It's not just Amber. It's the whole culture. And we thought maybe you could help us. Olivia blinked in surprise. Me? Why would you need my help? Because you were brave enough to stand up. Not many people do that. Jamie pulled out her phone. We made a group chat last night. 20 people already. We're calling it Stop for Her. Like, stop the judgment, stop the bullying. We want to organize something for today. Today? Olivia repeated, caught off guard by the speed at which this was moving. What kind of something? A statement, something visible. Jamie's eyes lit up with excitement. Remember that silent protest the seniors did 2 years ago about the dress code? Kind of like that, but about economic status and the way people judge each other for it. Olivia took a sip of her coffee, buying time to think. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm not sure Riley would want this kind of attention. Yesterday was already humiliating for her. That's the thing, Jamie said. It's not just about Riley. It's about all the students here who feel judged or less than because they can't afford the latest phones or designer clothes. Riley's situation just brought it to the surface. The warning bell rang, signaling 5 minutes until first period. Just think about it, Jamie urged, typing something on her phone. I just added you to the group chat. Check it out when you can. Throughout her morning classes, Olivia's phone buzzed continuously with notifications from the group chat. During her free period, she finally had a chance to scroll through the messages. What she found both surprised and moved her. The group had grown to over 50 students, a mix of seniors, juniors, and even some sophomores. Many had shared their own experiences of feeling judged or excluded because of financial constraints. My parents divorced last year and my mom can barely afford rent. I've been wearing the same 3 pairs of jeans all year, and I overheard girls in the bathroom saying I was repeating outfits because I'm trying to be environmental. Like they couldn't imagine I just can't afford more clothes. I used my cousin's hand-me-down iPhone X and got laughed at in study hall last week because it's ancient. Not everyone can get the latest model the day it comes out. I had to drop out of band because we couldn't afford to rent an instrument anymore. Told everyone I was too busy with other activities because I was embarrassed. The stories continued, dozens of them, revealing a hidden current of shame and exclusion running beneath the surface of everyday school life. Olivia had always been aware of the economic diversity at Lincoln Heights, but seeing so many personal accounts laid bare was eye-opening. The group had settled on a plan. At exactly 12:30 p.m., during the busiest lunch period, everyone involved would wear or display something old, worn, or outdated. The very things many of them had been hiding or been mocked for. They would gather in the main hallway, forming a silent line that students would have to walk past to reach the cafeteria. Olivia hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Was this really the right approach? Would it help students like Riley, or just create more division? And what would Riley herself think of it? She got her answer in the next class, when she managed to speak with Riley briefly before the teacher arrived. "Have you heard about the protest thing at lunch?" Olivia asked quietly. Riley nodded, a mixture of emotions crossing her face. "Jamie Ortiz told me about it last period. She asked if I was okay with it." She fidgeted with her pencil. I said yes. "You did?" Olivia couldn't hide her surprise. "At first I didn't want anything to do with it. I just wanted to blend in, you know. But then Jamie showed me some of the messages people were sharing." Riley's voice grew stronger. "If standing there means some other kid doesn't feel as awful as I did yesterday, then I want to do it." By the time the lunch bell rang, Olivia had made her decision. She sent a quick message to the group chat. "I'm in. Meeting at my locker first." At 12:25, Olivia stood by her locker, watching as students began to gather. Madison arrived wearing a pair of scuffed sneakers that Olivia knew she usually kept hidden in the back of her closet. Jamie came next, proudly carrying a battered backpack that had clearly seen better days. One by one, more students joined them. Some Olivia recognized, others she'd never spoken to before. Each carried or wore something that told a story. Patched jeans, outdated tech, worn-out shoes, thrifted clothes with visible mending. At 12:30 exactly, Riley arrived. She had removed the cardigan she'd been wearing earlier, revealing the same faded sweatshirt from yesterday's confrontation. Her chin was raised, her eyes clear and determined. "Ready?" she asked, looking at the gathered group. Together, they walked to the main hallway and formed a line, standing shoulder to shoulder along the wall. As the lunch crowd began to file past, confusion gave way to understanding as word spread about what was happening. Some students hurried by, eyes averted. Others slowed down, reading the small handwritten signs some protesters held. "Worth more than my clothes. Judge my character, not my shoes. Working 3 jobs to help my family." Olivia's sign was simple. "Standing with Riley and everyone who's ever been judged for what they can't afford." The hallway grew quiet as more students stopped to observe the line. Teachers emerged from their classrooms, watching the silent demonstration with expressions ranging from concern to approval. Then, something unexpected happened. Tyler Matthews approached the line, football jacket prominently displayed. For a tense moment, Olivia feared he might try to disrupt the protest. Instead, he removed his jacket, the ultimate status symbol at Lincoln Heights, and placed it carefully on the floor. "My dad lost our house when I was 14, he said, his voice carrying in the hushed hallway. "We lived in our car for 3 months before my uncle took us in. Nobody here knew that." He stepped back, then took a position at the end of the line. His action broke the dam. One by one, other students, many who weren't part of the original group, began to join the line. A cheerleader removed her team jacket. The student council treasurer placed his expensive wireless headphones on the ground. A freshman girl untied the designer scarf from her neck. By 12:45, the line had grown to nearly 100 students, snaking around the corner and into the adjacent hallway. The cafeteria was half empty, most students choosing to remain in the hallway, either as participants or witnesses to the spontaneous movement. Principal Harrington eventually appeared, surveying the scene with a furrowed brow. He conferred briefly with several teachers before approaching Jamie, who had emerged as one of the leaders. "As long as you're not blocking the hallway completely and everyone's participating voluntarily, you can continue," he said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. "But I want to meet with student representatives after school today to discuss this properly." Yoit. As Principal Harrington walked away, Olivia caught sight of Amber standing at the far end of the hallway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Their eyes met briefly before Amber turned and walked away. The protest continued until the end of lunch period, when students reluctantly dispersed to their afternoon classes. But something had changed. The atmosphere in the hallways felt different, charged with a new awareness. As Olivia headed to her history class, Riley fell into step beside her. "I never expected that," Riley said softly. "All those people." "Me neither," Olivia admitted. "But I'm glad it happened." Riley nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "For the first time since we moved here, I feel like maybe I could belong." "You do belong," Olivia said firmly. "We all do." As they entered the classroom, several students looked up and nodded in acknowledgement, small gestures that might have gone unnoticed yesterday, but now carried the weight of shared understanding. The meeting with Principal Harrington after school lasted nearly 2 hours. Olivia, Riley, Jamie, and several other students, including Tyler, presented their concerns about the unspoken social hierarchy at Lincoln Heights and the way economic differences were used as weapons of exclusion. What began as a response to a specific incident has clearly touched on something much deeper in our school community, Principal Harrington said, leaning forward in his chair. His office felt cramped with so many students present, but he had insisted on hearing from everyone involved. "I want you to know I take this seriously. We're not trying to cause trouble," Jamie explained. "We just want Lincoln Heights to be a place where everyone feels valued, regardless of what they wear or how much money their family has." Principal Harrington nodded thoughtfully. "I appreciate that, and I believe we can work together to make some positive changes." He looked directly at Riley. "Ms. Cooper, I want to personally apologize for what happened yesterday. That kind of behavior is not acceptable at this school, and it will be addressed." Riley shifted uncomfortably in her seat, but nodded in acknowledgement. "So what happens now?" Tyler asked. "We made our statement today, but what's next?" "That's precisely what I want to discuss," Principal Harrington replied. "A one-day demonstration can raise awareness, but creating lasting change requires more sustained effort." By the time they left the principal's office, the sky had cleared, the earlier rain giving way to late afternoon sunshine that cast long shadows across the parking lot. They had agreed to form an official student committee, Economic Diversity Awareness, with Principal Harrington's backing. The committee would develop concrete proposals for addressing the issues raised by the protest. "First meeting tomorrow at lunch," Jamie said, creating a new group chat as they walked. "I'll reserve the conference room." As the others headed toward the buses or waiting cars, Olivia noticed Riley hanging back. "Everything okay?" Olivia asked. Riley nodded, then hesitated. "My mom's picking me up today. She switched shifts so she could come to school and talk to someone about financial aid for the class trip next month." She glanced at Olivia. Would you want to meet her? She's heard a lot about you." "Oh, I'd love to," Olivia replied, genuinely touched by the invitation. They walked together to the parent pickup area, where a small, well-maintained but clearly older model car was pulling up to the curb. A woman who looked like an older version of Riley waved from the driver's seat. "That's her," Riley said, a note of pride in her voice. Mrs. Cooper stepped out of the car, dressed in simple scrubs that Olivia guessed were her work uniform. Despite clear signs of exhaustion around her eyes, Her smile was warm as she approached. "You must be Olivia," she said, extending her hand. "Riley hasn't stopped talking about you since yesterday. Thank you for what you did." "It wasn't just me," Olivia replied, slightly embarrassed by the gratitude. "A lot of people came together today." "Because you were the first to stand up," Mrs. Cooper said firmly. "That matters." She glanced at her watch. "I hate to rush, but I need to get to my evening shift soon. Riley, we should go." Riley nodded, then turned to Olivia. "See you tomorrow?" "Definitely," Olivia confirmed. As Olivia watched their car pull away, a voice behind her made her jump. "Hey!" She turned to find Amber standing there, no longer surrounded by her usual entourage. Up close, without the protective shield of her friends, Amber looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. "Can we talk?" Amber asked, an unusual hesitancy in her voice. Olivia's first instinct was to refuse, but something in Amber's expression made her reconsider. "Sure." They moved to a nearby bench, sitting with a careful distance between them. For a moment neither spoke, the awkward silence broken only by the sound of buses departing and cars honking in the distance. "What happened in the hallway yesterday?" Amber finally began. "With Riley's sweatshirt. I was out of line." Olivia waited, saying nothing. "I'm not trying to excuse it," Amber continued, staring at her hands. "But sometimes I feel like I have to be a certain way, you know? Like people expect it from me." "Nobody forced you to humiliate Riley," Olivia pointed out, keeping her tone neutral. "I know. It was wrong." Amber looked up, meeting Olivia's gaze directly. "After the protest today, I talked to my mom. Really talked to her. For the first time in forever. I told her about what happened, what I did." "What did she say?" A flicker of emotion crossed Amber's face. "She told me something I never knew. About how when she was in high school, before my dad's business took off, she used to wear the same 2 outfits all week and wash them every weekend because that's all they could afford." Amber's voice grew quieter. "She said she used to hide in the bathroom during lunch because she was embarrassed about bringing leftover rice every day instead of buying food." Olivia felt a shift in her perception of Amber. Not forgiveness exactly, but a new understanding. "I'm going to apologize to Riley," Amber said. "For real, not just because I'm supposed to. And I want to join the committee you guys are forming, if you'll let me." "It's not up to just me," Olivia replied. "But I think it would mean a lot if you did." Amber nodded, standing up. "I should go. My ride's waiting." She took a few steps, then turned back. "What you did yesterday, standing up to me, that took guts. More than I've ever had." As Amber walked away, Olivia remained on the bench, processing the unexpected conversation. The late afternoon sun cast everything in a golden light, making even the tired school building look momentarily beautiful. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Running late at the hospital. Can you start dinner? Love you." Olivia smiled, typing back a quick, "No problem. Love you too," before gathering her things. As she walked toward the bus stop, she reflected on the whirlwind of the past 2 days, how a single moment of standing up for someone had rippled outward in ways she never could have anticipated. Lincoln Heights still had its problems. The committee they were forming couldn't erase economic differences or completely change a social hierarchy built over years. But they had made a start, created a crack in the facade where light could get in. And sometimes, Olivia thought as she boarded her bus home, that's all it takes. One person willing to stop and say, "This isn't right," followed by others brave enough to stand alongside them. The bus pulled away from the curb, carrying her toward home and whatever challenges tomorrow would bring. But for now, for this moment, Olivia felt something she hadn't expected. Hope, fragile but persistent, like the first green shoot breaking through concrete.